5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome, Joe.
Hi.
What's happening?
Same old, same old.
Welcome to our shit show we call a podcast.
Yeah, as we've already demonstrated pre-podcast.
Yeah, for the audience that doesn't know, I just knocked down Christopher Walken the minute I said hi to Joe.
Still not straight.
Still not.
Just leave it. Just leave it.
Here, no, I can't. I gotta see it. Where am I going? Which way?
Come on, it's right there.
It's different from me.
But it's reversed.
Yeah.
And he's holding it backwards.
That's pretty close. Oh, there he is. That's where he's staying.
Just
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Let's
All
stay
right.
down for the rest of the podcast.
See you, Chris. All right. So
Here, we know what we'll do. We'll put him right up over here. Does that work? Yeah.
works.
It's always something on this podcast, man. Let me tell you. All right, let's go. Let's get this shit show out of the way because Chris. Yep, Joe has to leave
Joe,
in
not
15
Chris.
minute. Joe has to leave in 15 minutes.
Joe's got to go. Yeah. So Joe, a.k.a. or more affectionately known as JoJo, longtime friend. What, 25-ish more years?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Joe and I have known each other for a long time, and also alongside Tony Shooks, who was a favorite of the podcast.
Hashtag where's Tony?
Hashtag where's Tony? Have you seen me?
Yeah. So normally we give a shout out to Tony, but he's
Zero shout
He
outs.
ghosted us like a Tinder date right now.
Yeah.
Hashtag POW
Like
Springfield.
Like a grinder date.
Yeah. So he's gonna have to make it up to us. Yep.
I thought it'd be cool to have Joe on, man of many hats.
But not the Bah Humbug hat.
Not the never the Bah Humbug hat, but has been seen in several nightclubs dressed as Santa.
I actually got some good ones coming up. Some real good ones coming up.
Yep.
Are we doing like drunken Santa? Like, what does it look like? The guy from
We'll give a quick shout out to Axe to Grind Barbershop. Watch their Bad Santa video from last year. Oof.
Oh, you were in that, weren't you?
I had to do a
Yeah.
kid's toy giveaway the next day. I had to dry clean the suit myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I've known Joe for over 25 years.
where did this love affair start?
In the bars, where do they all start?
When Brett could consume more than his current body weight in beer in a night.
That's true. Yes.
I'll tell you, I definitely have been impressed how many times I've seen him down something, and I'm just like, wow, how does he do it, man?
Yeah, it's a skill.
And you would never know. Like if I give you a breathalyzer or even the whole walk
sobriety,
the line
yeah.
test, you would pass it with flying colors.
That's called a tolerance. We used to be able to put down about 2 bottles of whiskey and still hold normal conversation
Oh
and
my
do things,
God.
and everyone would be like,
Yeah.
practice makes perfect.
I was actually when I had some weight loss, I was concerned that I would see some kind of massive drop off in tolerance, and
Your body mass index wasn't supportive
Yeah.
of so many fluid ounces.
I don't the sponge got smaller, but I honestly think that body weight does not have anything to do with it. I mean, it's just I just keep my liver worked out.
Science says otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you keep it at a certain level,
That's it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You
I've
don't give it
always
a break.
said never get too much blood in your alcohol stream. So
The real curious part is, when did red wine become your drink of choice?
don't have so much room for beer anymore, and it's heavy on the calories. So
They make this stuff called whiskey.
No, I know. And the problem is I drink at the same pace, no matter what I drink.
yeah.
So red wine,
Alcoholic content, gotcha.
So red wine is the safer bet in that, because as
At least you're not drinking White Claws, so life's good.
No, I do.
Hashtag where's Tony?
Hashtag where's Tony? Hashtag have you seen me?
That's the line in the sand right there. Like, no White Claws for me. Anything else I'll do.
I've dabbled in the seltzers, but I try to.
Of course you have.
Well, you know who got a hold of me today? Keith Gordon. Shout out to Keith Gordon. Kind of reminiscent about the Johnny Walker Blue that he brought that day.
Yep.
And we polished it off within a couple hours. And that really hurt the next day because I don't really drink. And
Blue's not a good starting point.
yeah, that was a rough next morning, man. Although the best hungover I've ever been, because that quality. if I drank,
$250 hangover.
yeah. And I couldn't believe when he brought it. He took it out of the box, and I was like, "Oh boy, this is going to be a fun night." And I did good. Like, I mean, I pulled through.
Yeah, he got a little rambunctious that
Yeah, he
night, I
did.
think. Do you know Keith, he runs a restaurant, right? Or
Yeah, called Burgundy Brook over in Three Rivers.
Nope.
Yeah.
Outside of my travel range, Three Rivers.
Yeah.
Monsoon, Ware, Three Rivers.
Monsoon. You're out of your element.
Palmer was close enough.
So you're from the bar scene, huh?
Oh, yes.
So what do you do with the bars? Because you've kind of done it all.
I've had big nightclubs, little nightclubs, shithole bars, towny bars, sports bars.
Yeah, pretty much everything.
Yeah. Ugh.
So you manage these bars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Let's hear some.
If
Good.
there's a bar in Springfield, he's had his hands in it at some point. Just about.
If you were in a major entertainment area in Springfield,
Yeah.
If you were off the beaten path like the Yellow Jacket, the Ale House, not so much.
Right, but what was what the hell was the one over by the Rotary there by the state police?
Finnegan's Tavern, like became Moriarty's.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun one.
Never a more crime-ridden place right next door to a state police barracks.
Yeah, that place was crazy.
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah. Oh, it was crazy.
Well, that's like having the lantern over here by the old state police barracks right across the street.
Yeah. But all the big ones downtown, even through the several changeovers, Joe was there in several different capacities.
Jesus Loves a Nudie Bar.
Yep, plenty of nudie bars.
By the way, the lantern's for sale.
Oh,
$1 million. That's what they
Perfect.
want for it.
It's just a liability insurance that bars have to carry, probably, right?
Liquor in general, yeah.
So what's that liability go for? Are we talking over $1 million? Or are we talking
What's the policy for? Normally it's like 4+.
$4 million plus? Wow.
But I mean, cost ends it's measured on size.
Yeah. So basically, was that like a Massachusetts or a city-based requirement that depending
It's state
on
by
the
state.
liquor license, like this is how much liability insurance it carries?
It's state by state.
Yeah.
Yeah. You okay?
No. I was born that way.
I don't have a defibrillator or anything here, so just don't go to the light, man.
Oh, we're way past that. If cocaine didn't kill me in the 90s and 2000s, the cough isn't going to do it now.
Yeah, just a mild cough. It's
Great,
fine.
I just got COVID. Fuck.
Sorry, go ahead.
So what's the funnest bar that you ever worked in?
Ooh, that's tough. Because there were like really fun moments in lots of different places.
And they're all very different, too.
Yeah. Like Elephant Man at the Hippodrome was probably one of the funnest things I've ever seen ever.
Oh,
in
the
a
show?
bar nightclub. Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy jumping off speaker stacks, and the guy was just wild, and everyone went wild over the guy. It was a great, great show. It's so tough. It's such a tough question. Such a tough question.
I'm trying to I have some memorable or lack of memory moments, I guess. I mean, I think some of my favorites were the Poorhouse, I think, because I became a heavy regular there.
Oh.
I didn't really hang out there.
So I put a gong behind the bar. Like most bars have a bell. I put a gong behind the bar. And depending on how shit-faced everyone got me, was if I threw empty glasses at the gong while the bartenders were working. They would all just hit the deck and just smash, gong. Bad place, bad time. Hilarious stories.
Where did you hang out in downtown Springfield?
Wherever he was working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Tony, hashtag where am I?
Yeah, we're hashtag where's Tony?
From probably...
Hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write that down, and we're going to put that inside the...
Yeah, hashtag where's Tony?
From like
Where is
1996 or 1997 all the way up to 2009, 8 or 9, him and I worked together every weekend.
Oh, really?
Unless we all got suspended or fired at the same time, which had happened too.
Yeah. So it was like the dynamic duo plus several other
Usual suspects.
characters or usual suspects, some working there, some not, usually not.
Mm-hmm.
But so, yeah, I mean, name a few, it'd be definitely, Hippodrome, TJ's. I think
The
that was
Solution, TJ Horahands.
yes, the Solution.
I was there all the time.
Yeah, that was
The place where it all began.
Yep.
it is, and then however many times that changed names.
I can actually talk about this now. I was in there and I was 15 or 16 years old. I was sitting at the bar drinking a beer. And this kid, Luke, was sitting next to me, and Luke's boss was a bouncer there. Luke's boss came and threw him out and beat him up on the sidewalk. Now, when I walked in, I had recognized Tony from, we both grew up in Holyoke. Him and I weren't friends then. We just random, like, next neighborhood kids. This guy walks up to me, and he's, what are you doing? I'm like, drinking. He's like, Tony said you're a good kid. You work here now. I was like,
okay, let's
all
do
right,
it.
cool. And I started working at TJ Horhands at fucking 16 years old.
Wow.
2 weeks before my 21st birthday, my girlfriend at the time's parents rat me out to the DJ. He's like, oh, you going to Joe's 21st birthday party? Now, I'd worked there for 5 years, and the management went mental.
That's hilarious.
Absolutely mental. I'm like,
We're gonna lose everything we have.
I was like, you guys never asked
You just said I have
how
a job.
old I was. You just said I work here now. I gave you my social security number, and you guys started giving me $5 an hour paychecks.
Yeah, it's on you.
The end result was, again, I had 2 weeks left till I was 21. They didn't fire me. I could drink there after hours. I could keep my job there, but I couldn't go back in there as a customer until I was 21. And I worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And they were only open Wednesday through. I go, so you're telling me for 2 days I can't come in here? All right.
Well, you got to set some
Thanks,
ground
guys.
rules.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You just can't let it get out of hand.
Yeah, it's laying down the
willy-nilly.
law.
Thanks for that, guys. Yep.
Yeah, that used to be one of my places I used to go to. So we used to go to the Metro Zone or the Hot Club, whatever that was called at the time.
Yeah.
Then we go over to Fat Cats, and then we go over to TJ's. And I think we took one night off a week. I'm trying to remember. Like Monday nights were lemons. Yep.
Lemons.
Tuesdays, I think we took off. Or sometimes we went to...
Kahunaville is
Kahunaville
Tuesdays,
in the mall
especially
Tuesdays. It was a little
industry,
later, yeah.
especially for industry people or retail people.
yeah, I didn't really hang out there too much. That we go to...
Kahunaville actually got kind of crazy sometimes.
what was the one in West Springfield? Oh, Wrinkle Dean's.
Shout out to Joe Fazio for dealing with our shit forever.
The funniest thing that ever happened to us at the Kahunaville was it was my sister's birthday, and she was just banging shots like you wouldn't believe. And we're like, we got to go. Like, it's time to go. And the bartender, me and him were kind of talking, and I'm like, I got to get her out of here. He goes, I'll make it happen. I'm like, but you can't touch her, man. And he's like, I'm not gonna touch her. I want to make her throw up. I'm like, she hates throwing up.
Sounds like Steve DeRay or Dan Alves.
So he mixes her a shot that once she banged it back, it curdled in her mouth.
Oh, it's a
Cement mixer.
Yeah, cement mixer.
Yeah, and boy, did that work. So he handed me the shot, gave
So
it to
gross.
her, and then immediately he hands me the bucket. And she, like, all right, we're leaving. Gives me the thumbs up. We're out.
Yeah, that's the trademark 21st birthday shot right there. Cement mixer. Little lime juice on the Baileys and sludge.
There is a very distinct Kahunaville memory. # where's Tony? Tony and both his roommates ended up in the same Holyoke Police Department jail cell leaving there one night. That's all I'm going to say on the story until he's here to give his version.
We should call him.
But that was the night.
I said we would try to call him. If I don't know, is your Bluetooth synced up? Or?
I can check.
Yeah. But yeah, so while you're working on that, you weren't in Hot Club Metro Zone.
Oh, I absolutely was. I didn't work there. But
No, that's what I'm saying. You didn't work there. I know you were. We've definitely attended the place.
There's a gentleman who I'm still very close friends with. I will not say your name on the air, buddy, but he was the general manager of that place from start to finish.
Yeah.
And if you could have seen what Tuesday mornings at 6 a.m. looked like in there,
It was bad.
yeah.
But yeah, Poorhouse, I think was my favorite, mainly because I don't know what it was at that time. Like
There's just no rules.
there wasn't a whole lot of rules, and I don't know. I had a point in my life where like it was like at least every Thursday and Friday, I would just go down there. Like they're just between like what my family and my wife had going on. Like I was just free. And I would have just people drop me off because Joe lived in my town at the time, and I knew I'd get to drink after hours while I was waiting for him to close everything out, and B, he always offered to give me a ride home. So I was just like, just drop me off at the Poorhouse.
The Brett chauffeur story. I had no idea how Brett could do this, but Brett was probably larger than I am now. And he would fall asleep in the Jeep with no top and no doors on.
Not spill a drop.
With a pint glass full.
Yeah, I would pour myself a fresh pint before we leave, and I'd get in, and I had full intention of
Just
of
like
drinking
this.
it. Yeah.
He would fall asleep like this. And he'd get to his house and he would just go, crawl out of the Jeep and into see Paula. And Paula would just look at me and go, thanks for bringing him home.
Yeah. Was there any words exchanged, or you just got out? Like one of those things where you pull up and then
Sometimes I'd offer to give his glass back.
Occasionally.
he just shows up one day with a whole rack.
You
Like,
wouldn't believe the pint glass collection I have in my house.
I think these are yours.
Never fell out of the door hole. Never spilt his beer. And I'm talking dozens of times.
And he had like a big lifted Jeep, and he has said that he intentionally would take corners a little quicker than needed just to see what would happen.
Yeah.
Nothing. I have like an equilibrium, you know. It's
Jesus.
I couldn't do it.
I can't do it anymore. I don't think. Oh, I lost my shelf one, but you know,
I
like
think I found it.
I used to be able to do it, you know, even on the couch. Like I'd fall asleep, you know, just watching TV like that, and like probably in the last year, I've probably spilt a couple glasses of stuff. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it, but you know,
Really?
that's old age, I guess.
There it is. You heard it here first,
There
guys.
it is. I've spilt some drinks. I
Brett
want everybody to
spilled
know.
some drinks.
It's all because the shelf's gone.
Yeah, the shelf's gone. Like, you know, when you don't have a drink holder, what are you going to do?
It is true. Your body adapts to,
Yeah.
you know.
That's it. You know, I mean, between the cleavage and the shelf, it was secure.
That's funny.
Do we have Bluetooth? We're going to try.
Yeah,
giving
you want to
Tony-
try him right now?
Let's give him a call. Let's see if he
give,
answers.
How dare he?
Hashtag where's
I wanted to go over all the stuff we wanted to do tonight. He ruined the surprise.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'll tell you, we are gonna. Go ahead, keep talking so we don't have any dead air.
Oh yeah,
That's what editing's for.
I don't like to edit.
he hates editing.
I hate editing.
Yeah.
Well, you don't use iMovie? It's so easy.
No,
Well, there's
I don't want to get into all that because that's what I should have done in the first
Yeah.
place. But I got talked into. I went to Best Buy and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and this kid talked me into this.
The Geek Squad ruined you.
Yeah, now if I ever go in there, first place I'm going to is where that kid works, and I'm gonna beat him with that because this thing has caused me for $2,500, caused me more problems. I could have got an Apple. My learning curve would have been different, but it would have been so much easier. All right, you ready?
let's give it a call. It is tough for
Ooh, that's fucking loud.
we do have to pick and choose the moments that we can talk about.
$50 says he doesn't answer.
Oh, especially he knows your number, yeah, so he's not going to answer.
Yeah.
We need to star 67 that shit.
Well, no, we want him to know. We want to shame him. Let him know that we know that he didn't show up.
Yeah, let's just add to the hashtag.
Yeah.
Where's Tony?
Hashtag have you seen me?
Yeah.
We should send the cops to his house for a well-being check.
Hashtag have you seen my baseball?
Have you seen my baseball?
You reached Tony. If you're calling for anything to do with TS Mobile accessories or your vehicle pricing or anything like that to get work done, call us at the shop at 413.
Oh, Jesus, we're going to have to...
310.
Oh, no, we don't have to edit that.
3422.
You want to leave a message?
Actually, personally for Tony, leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hello, Anthony. This has nothing to do with TS Mobile or pricing or remote starts. It has to do with where'd you go? You're supposed to be here. There's this gigantic empty seat here, and you are supposed to be here in all your glory with all of your jewelry, and you're not here, and I'm all by myself, and it's all your fault.
Hashtag where's Tony?
Hashtag have you seen me?
Yep, and hashtag I just...
Fix my golf cart.
I let the kids down. So, Tony, you son of a bitch, we were supposed to go over a bunch of stuff today for the Shriners, what I wanted to do with the podcast. So, thanks for ruining my night. I appreciate it. You'll definitely have to make it up to us.
There's kids dying of bone deformities right now, and it's your fault.
Yep, it's all your fault.
Without a golf cart.
Hope you go to sleep at night and you can live with yourself.
Right, we should probably hang up now.
Hey, give us a call back if, they take you out of the trunk you're in. Later.
So yeah, so we have to kind of pick and choose, the moments we can talk about because we're not sure of the statute of limitations on probably some of that.
That's why I can talk about some of these things now.
What's the statute of limitations on beer glasses that you've stolen from certain places?
Well, no, it was
like 3 years for grand theft.
It was consensual. So
I don't think there was a choice.
I mean, I'm telling you, I wonder how many nights, if you add them all together, that I didn't sleep through a span of like at least 21 to like 26. Because
but how'd you do it? Because they didn't have like Monster and Red Bull and stuff back then. So it was either cocaine or some type of like meth or something. How'd you not sleep?
So I did it on just dumb drunk energy, honestly.
Well, I knew as I was living on my own, I had to get up for work. Like my parents weren't paying for shit. So that was a good motivator. Like if I had to go knock on my parents' door to go, hey, I couldn't afford my car payment, so that kind of sucked. And I think it was just adrenaline knowing that you had to go back out the next night. So I would get home from work because thank God I work 7 to 3, sleep for a couple hours, shower, right back at it. And I would do that night after night after night. And sometimes I would sleep in the parking lot.
Oh, I've done that.
Hashtag Nathan Bills.
the guys at security used to knock on my window. All right, it's time for work. I used to go down to the janitor's closet, kind of spruce up a little bit, and get right back to work.
Yeah, we did.
Let's do it again.
We had some nights at Circuit City after 2. So Tuesday nights, Kahunaville. I used to work a 7:30 to 10 on Wednesdays, every Wednesday.
Open and close
at Circuit City. Yeah, that was
Worked
like
a bell.
We had one bell a week, and I chose Wednesdays. So Tuesday nights was Kahunaville night. So, and I think I closed a lot of Tuesday nights. So I would go almost straight from work, and there was a few occasions where I might have gone and slept in the recliner in the cinema room just to make sure I got there on time. So yeah, I don't know how I did it for a good deal of time. I think it was before. It was just right around the time I moved to Circuit City. I worked at UPS for 6 or 7 years, and I used to go in for 3:30.
Oof.
So I'd leave the bars, catch an hour nap. I don't know. I had this rule where I would never just pull an all-nighter. I thought an hour was like, that just fixed me for the day. I've done plenty of all-nighters.
That hurts just thinking about it.
Yeah, I've done plenty of all-nighters, but like, I don't know. I always just had it in my head where I was like, if I slept at least this hour, I'll be good. I was never good.
I had the joy where I was just there anyway. I didn't have to get up for shit.
Yeah,
anyway.
you were just working there, or you were partying there.
The worst part is if I had to get up for noon to get a delivery driver in the afternoon.
Yeah, you were always on the same schedule, whether or not you were partying or working. It was like, well, I'd normally be getting out of work right now. I'm just a little more fucked up.
Trust me, 96 to 06, they were all the same day. They literally were the same day.
Were you part of the Circuit City crew too?
Not
by association.
I never worked or was employed by Circuit City, but my whole house was furnished by Circuit City. Yeah, never. But you could have thought I did because I could just walk in anywhere I wanted because everyone I knew was the management team there.
Because everybody at Circuit City was a bunch of drunks, so we saw him every night anyway.
Yep.
He used to just come in during the day to check in and see how we were doing.
Yeah.
I'd walk in through the back door of the road shop, right onto the sales floor, through the manager hallway. People would be like,
"Yeah,
don't worry about it."
Yeah, he's like, "Don't worry, I almost work here." Yeah.
So what was up with the, how you walk into a bar one day and there's one name on there, you come back the next week, there's another name on there. What was up with the spins constantly?
It's two things. One, you have to reinvent yourself. You've taught me that one.
Yeah, but like the downtown Springfield thing.
That was just people couldn't make it.
Yeah. So the same guys owned all those buildings forever, and they own the businesses. And what they do is they sell you the dream. Be like, you can have this for X amount and pay X amount, knowing you were never going to be able to pay X amount. But they got that up front from you, and they normally raked you over the coals pretty good. And then when you couldn't make the second payment, they just threw you out, and they found the next guy like you, and you were like, well, I'm going to call it this. Here's $30,000. I own a bar. 3 months later, you're like, I don't own a bar anymore.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm out $30,000.
Yeah, because you get the first month, you're paying rent to renovate it probably.
Yeah, they did that to lots and lots and lots of people. I watched them turn over. Like, that poorhouse space went through a lot, but it never changed its name. The spots next door is like Cocktails, the
Shadow
Daiquiri
Lounge.
Factory, Shadow Lounge, Those guys, like Shadow Lounge is all owned by the same people now and stuff like that. They don't do that anymore. But that's all it was. It was just a constant shuffle. Yeah. It was a Kansas City shuffle. It was the same people at the end of the day still getting the rent payments and the booze payments. But that was
there's a bar in town here that I almost jumped on.
Don't do it. If I tell you one thing in your life, don't do it. Every one of my friends ask me, and I tell them not to do it, and then some of them do it, and then a year, 18 months later, they're like, I should have listened to you. And I'm like, yep, how much did it cost you? A couple $100,000. Told you not to do it.
It's one business I won't get into unless I could partner with this guy some way.
Don't do it. I'd still tell you the same thing. No, don't do it.
Yeah, I came really close, and I'm just like, I Just don't, you trust your gut feeling.
You got $1 million to buy the broken flashlight?
No. Could you imagine $1 million for that shithole? I mean, they did paint it.
Does it include the real estate though?
The whole thing, parking lot and everything. So I guess maybe at the end of the day, we're close because the land is worth.
There will never be another set of adult entertainment licenses released in this state. There's a moratorium on them. So,
really?
Yes.
So that's where there's some value in that real
is what they are.
There's some real estate value plus that license because
But
it's
you
not
can't
gonna...
move it either.
Oh, you can't migrate addresses.
Do we remember Anthony's and Anthony's 2?
Yeah.
Who remembers Anthony's 2? That lovely pink circular building.
Yep.
No.
I read about it. I think
disgusting.
Our local strip club magnate owned all of them, and he was like, "Well, I'll move this one."
Which one is that? The Connecticut one?
No, Anthony's 2 was on State Street by IHOP and where Aldi's and all that is. It's now like a pink kitchen and sink
right across
place,
the street.
big
Remember it
circular
had the
building.
round building?
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it a Mr. Tux now? No, it's a window place or something like that.
No, that was
Kitchen and bath or
Matthews.
something.
Oh wait, the one on
No, that was Anthony's. They changed it from
the
Matthews.
one on Boston. Oh, it was Boston
Boston Road.
Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
State
Okay.
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tells you how long I've been on.
Yes,
Spring
Anthony's too. Okay.
Hill.
Yeah.
So you can't once they're grandfathered to their locations, and that's it.
So does that mean you can turn the Tint Place or the Tux Place or whatever it is now into a strip club again?
If the license still exists, but I doubt it.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to get into that kind of business. I think the wife would probably be, but I do have a. So we foster dogs. We've been in animal rescue for a long time. I did have a plan to take homeless strippers. I wanted to take homeless strippers and I wanted to rehome them.
The correct PC term is adult entertainers.
Right.
Yes.
We would foster them for a little while here. Make sure they were paying their bills. And
If that was the case, this would be the red room and not the podcast room. There'd still be cameras, but no microphones.
And my wife was very supportive of it. Even though she looked at me cross-eyed, but
It's all about the rescue.
that's right.
I mean, they pay money to stay there overnight and to use tanning beds and kitchens and stuff. You could probably do the same thing. Offer a shuttle service.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and you could. Yeah, it's I think it's all coming together
It
now.
is.
You have
It is.
plenty of room to build some bunk beds and whatnot.
This is how it happened. 3 guys started a business.
We now officially staff the whole Northeast.
Yeah, it's a movie. 3 guys and a special lady, or 2, or 10.
We'd need the Hollywood madam.
Could you imagine? Oh, every day would be stressful.
But so, addition to shenanigans at local watering holes, Joe does just about everything on or in water. Get your minds out of the gutter.
Water births.
Well, yeah,
Water births.
yeah.
Oof.
Maybe not water. Well, of the aquatic nature.
We're all tadpoles once.
But so I think one of the things that I think is most interesting is the spearfishing thing, which I find absolutely wild. How'd you get into that anyway?
I had a massive hernia reconstruction surgery. I don't know if you remember that thing.
Just had one 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah, but mine was bigger than that candle. And we'll give a shout out to my long-running 10-year-plus staff. They called him Hagrid. They took Hagrid to the beach. They took Hagrid to the casino. They took Hagrid everywhere. And then one day, Hagrid was gone. And the recovery time from that, crushed me. I couldn't move. I couldn't barely breathe. The doctors had told me that if I didn't lose weight, it would happen again and again. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with this ever again. So I'm like, I was 330 pounds. My knees hated me. I couldn't move. So I was like, I'm going to go swimming. And one of my buddies takes his daughter swimming all over the place. And I was like, hey, where do you go? And he's like, well, hey, man, fuck that. He's like, come spearfishing with me. And I'm like, what? He's like, you rodding real fish. You're always doing stuff. You're hunting. He's like, come spearfishing with me. And I'm like on a boat with a pole, oh. And he's like, no, with a gun. Underwater. And I'm like,
He's like, I'm in.
I literally was I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you put on this wetsuit so you don't freeze and you hold your breath, you swim on the bottom of the ocean, and when you see something, you just shoot it.
Can we go right now?
And I'm like, all right, I got to see this. Puts me in the water and he goes, just hold your breath, swim to the bottom. If you see something, point and shoot. I have no idea how it happened. The first time I held my breath, I swam under the water. This fucking thing swam in front of me, and I shot it right in its face. And I was like, and I come to the surface, and I have all this line wrapped around me, and he's like 30 yards away, and I'm like, now what? And he goes, oh. He comes back, and it was over. It was absolutely over.
Yeah, because he's on. Joe's on social media. If he wants to share that, he can.
At the Great White Mud Shark.
Instagram at the Great White Mud Shark. Awesome, but one of the other things, and it's probably on your list of million things that Joe does, is he's actually quite the videographer.
Listen,
both underwater and he has a drone, so he does cool
sweet.
drone videos and stuff.
GoPro made it really easy because they put those 3 little things on top of a mast, so I don't have to hold it. So whatever I'm looking at,
but you're good
it's
at
in
editing.
frame.
But you're good at editing also. So he actually edits and puts cool music and so if you find him on Instagram,
lots of copyright infringement going on my Instagram.
Probably
It's the only way to go.
but you can see kind of what he does from the spearfishing, and if you're an animal activist, and he does eat pretty much everything that he spears.
Myself, all of my friends, everyone benefits from.
So it's not fully recreational. It is. It is.
But you bring up a
utilized.
great topic because I love the people that decide to comment. There's this great video of me grabbing 2 stingrays by the tail, swimming them to the surface, spinning them around and letting them go, and people are up and on, like, why'd you have to do that anyway? Why'd you have to fucking touch them? Why'd you have to bother them? Like, listen, if you were underwater and a stingray swam by, you'd fuck with it too. I have wicked ADHD in the water. I'm like, ooh, look at that.
Now, do you travel for this, or is this something you do locally? Yeah.
San Diego, the Florida Keys.
Oh, wow.
Up and down the East Coast.
It's got to be beautiful. I mean, when I started the fish tank, I got immersed in that whole thing, and I was like,
here's the best part. Unless you go below South Carolina, don't go to South Carolina because it's still dirty as fuck there. You got to go way below South Carolina and way below NorCal, and you'll see hundreds of feet underwater, and life is beautiful.
Really?
Anywhere above that line, you're seeing like 4 to 6 feet, and you're just looking for shadows of stuff that you see nothing.
oh my
up
God,
here.
that's so scary.
You have to train yourself really, really hard to pick stuff out up here.
I have a fear of the water. Like,
You should.
even if we go to like Otis, like I always think there's a shark in there, it's fresh water. I will not go in.
Have you ever seen the snapping turtles that live
In
in
Otis.
Otis?
Oh my
Yeah.
God, don't tell me that.
My
I wouldn't
family
even go
has
to
a
Otis.
house on 23 right
Are you serious?
Oh.
between Otis Reservoir and Benton Pond.
Oh my God.
And they are trash can size lid alligator snappers. They are massive.
And those
Giant.
things, if you ever watch somebody put a stick in its mouth and
alligator
they just
snappers
blast it open, like,
per PSI, probably some of the strongest jaws in nature.
yeah.
Actually, there was one that caused a traffic jam by your house a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Did it really?
Yeah, from the pond crossing over. I mean, he was good.
Huge.
Probably 2 feet. And that's small. I mean, I remember seeing some out in Belchertown, getting yanked out by a tow truck, like sank one of
God.
those like pontoon rafts.
Yep.
Yeah, alligator snappers are pretty nasty.
When they drain Otis Res when we were kids, we used to take garden rakes and go hook their shells and flip them over. Massive.
I actually feel safer swimming in the ocean than I do in most freshwater.
Really?
Honestly, especially in the Northeast because of alligator
Why
snappers.
don't you come for a boat ride this year?
No.
I'll show you some things that'll make you change your mind.
Listen, I went snorkeling. I think it was down in the Bahamas or somewhere in the Caribbean, and like I started getting circled by barracudas, and I got a little wigged out. And of course, everybody from the islands was like, "Oh yeah, no, they're fine." I'm like, "Listen, dude." And Paula was pregnant, so she was watching from above. She was watching me snorkel like in the reefs, and she saw them like surrounding me. And I'm
You're going to be the
"Listen."
next Steve Irwin.
Yeah. I'm like, listen, yeah, I understand that, maybe you feel they're okay. I'm like, I was cool until like every time I turned my head, there was another barracuda.
I'd be
and
out.
I know like proportionately, and they're also not pack hunters. Like, I get it, but it was still freaky.
Bull.
Well, there is a feeding frenzy.
A great friend of mine, Sam Fletcher. What's up, homie? Started this awesome company called Odysseys by Fletcher. And he will take you and your friends anywhere in the world you want to go and whatever you want to see. Fletcher called me and said, hey, you want to go to Florida Keys? Do some cool deep water stuff? I said, yeah, let's go. And he brings me down 100+ feet in the ocean. And I'm like a schoolboy. Like this school, like 50 or 60 barracuda would come by. and they were massive, like 2-3 foot.
They travel in that big of packs?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize
my
that.
God,
They
yeah.
sold
And
like
these
that.
reefs and stuff like that, especially down around the Keys, they do. And Fletcher hates it because I literally he'll be sitting there like doing something with students and I just evaporate. We were in San Diego in
He's like, Joe's always disappearing.
we were in La Jolla Shore, San Diego, and there's a canyon ledge probably about 50 yards offshore, and it drops down hundreds to thousands of feet. And
Are you going down with air?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're down on this ledge, and I saw these sea hares, and I started messing with them.
What's a sea hare?
It looks like a sea cucumber jellyfish thing. It just crawls around the bottom and eats shit. And all of a sudden, there's no more Fletcher. Thank God he wears neon yellow flippers, and I knew which direction he was heading. And I managed to see in the distance, and he's like, you can't do that. I'm like, I'll figure it out. So in the Keys, I corner these 2 gigantic barracudas in this rock ledge, and I'm holding the ledge. All this video will be released. I haven't released any of it yet. And I'm trying to crawl in this cave, and they both turn at me, and they both start snapping their teeth at me. And I went, maybe this isn't a good idea. Fletcher's pulling my fin tips, like shaking his head, and I'm like, all right, okay.
This is the day. Yeah. I knew it would come sooner or later, but here it is.
Yep.
So my
fun fish.
My interaction with barracuda, and they're so fast. Like they're gone
really?
in an instant. Like I would look at one, and if I moved a certain way, it was like gone, but then all of a sudden it's over here. Like it was like a flash. It was
The really big ones, they're stoic, and they're just their eyeball moves with you, and you're like,
Like he's looking right
big
at
old
me.
eyeballs, and then just these jaws with these. I mean, they're front, whatever.
like vampire teeth in front of their mouth.
Like it's just huge. Like you can see it from 30, 40 feet away, these giant teeth. And I'm like, I know you're probably not supposed to bother me according to people, but
He's thinking about it's like running through his little
it's
tiny
like,
skull
you know,
a little bit.
well,
Like,
it's just like the little guy at the bar. Like, can I take this guy? You know, it's like sometimes, you know, he jumps and sometimes he doesn't.
and he's calling his buddy. He's like, "Yo, Ralph."
Can we time out and segue for 1 second back to the bar business? Because Brett just said one of the things that actually reminded me of probably one of the funniest bar stories ever because of the little guy at the bar. And you had said wrinkled Deans. Do you remember when Jeremy Restalis pissed on the guy's leg at Geraldine's?
There's a lot of, I don't know if we should name drop him.
Sorry, Jer.
We'll just say
Does he even exist anymore?
he does. I actually just talked to him yesterday.
Well, stop pissing on people's legs. It was 20 plus years ago. He's fine.
I would love to get that guy on here with the amount of stories he has. But
Just living with Tony.
so I wasn't there for, we'll just call him, to remain anonymous, Jeremy.
Rasputin.
I wasn't there for the piss on the leg thing. I don't even think that's one he shared with me. So I gotta.
Uh-huh.
Well, go ahead. Just let it loose. Maybe we can just edit out.
That you can
the
save
le-
that one for Tony, too.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's a whole nother.
I'm
thing.
not sure if the statute of limitations are out on that one.
Yeah. There's a lot of them.
With Anthony and Dan.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's just a whole. Yeah. But yeah, little guy, jump, barracuda.
Yep.
So what are you most afraid of in the water? Like what will you stay away from?
That's tough now, especially after getting in like San Diego, chasing sharks around.
No
Keys, big bull sharks, you know, and reef sharks. But once you start getting in their face and you start chasing them around, it's funny because they don't really want to. They don't want anything to do with you. The white sharks up here are a whole nother ball game.
Are they really?
Oh yeah. The second they come around, we're all just like, have a good day. See you later.
So just soon as you see them or you hear of them being in the area, you're out. Have you?
The first week of September, we had 3 or 4 boats. We had a tournament off Block Island, and we were probably 200 yards away from each other.
Yeah.
And one of the other boats came over, and he's like, "Hey man, pack it up." One of the divers was in the water, and I'm not the smartest diver. I hang my dead fish on my belt. I swim with them hanging off my belt.
It's your human chum.
Yeah, it's like playing with the fox outside with the pork chopper on your neck.
And this guy had him on a float 100 yards behind, or 100 feet behind him. And every now and then you'll feel something tug on your float. Seals normally chomping on, getting a free meal. When he turned around to chase the seal off,
It was a white.
10-foot gigantic white shark eating his fish, bit right through the string and everything. And so they went to Fishers Island, New York, and I loaded the boat and went up into the bay in Newport. Everyone just left Block Island.
Yeah.
Now, are they like most fish? Will they kind of stay away from you, or do they?
So here's the great thing about not being able to see anything. You know they're there.
Oh.
They are all over the place.
Really?
Makos, whites, big blues, but you're never going to see them.
Wow.
And thankfully, for the most part, they're not messing with us. But they're starting to learn they get a free meal out of it.
Yeah.
And
what's the biggest great white you've ever seen? What
with
kind
my
of
own
size?
eyes, 14 foot.
Wow.
3 years ago, same thing.
What does something
Off
like
the
that
southwest
weigh?
of Who knows? Google that shit. But they're big.
I'm
Their eyeballs,
Google it.
their eyeballs are like this big, and they'll broadside the boat.
Really?
Yeah, 14-foot fish of any fish is a
You're
big...
in a 17-foot center console, and a 14-foot shark swims up. You're going, yeah, it's time to go home.
I'm not going in there.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
Great flick. That movie totally ruined my relationship
that.
with water.
I actually watch that movie probably monthly. I love that movie.
I actually have a hilarious story. Captain Jack from Jackhammer Charters has me out on a shark charter with him, and I'm sitting in the back of the boat, 5-gallon bucket of fish guts, and I'm scooping it off the side, and I'm actually being an asshole. And I'm like, "Hoopa drives the boat, Chiefy," and I'm scooping the chum, and I'm scooping.
You
the
didn't
chum.
have a Roy Scheider moment. A shark came up.
Close. So this thing comes up in the chum slick, and I jump in the air screaming like a fucking schoolgirl. A baby fin whale had come up and breached in the chum slick on the side of the boat, blew its blowhole, and I was like, ah! Captain's laughing at me. Everyone's laughing at me because now this baby whale is just swimming around the boat, and I'm like...
And completely unrelated because they wouldn't have been attracted to the chum, right? They're filter feeders, right?
It's the area. It's a major highway.
It's a channel.
Tuna come through, whales, dolphins, lots and lots of sharks, bluefish, striper. They all migrate through that same kind of general area.
Yeah.
All right, so I have some shark statistics here.
Shark facts.
Statistics.
Okay, so a whale shark. I'll go big.
Largest
okay?
fish in the world.
46 feet.
Yeah.
That thing's gonna weigh in at 15 tons.
You can swim with them down in
You can swim with them here.
in the
Shout
Baja.
out to @SharkAssassin. Check out his Instagram.
off the East Coast.
Oh yeah,
Whale sharks?
yeah.
What time is it here?
July, August.
Yeah.
But you're taking a 130+ mile boat ride.
And visibility is shit. So
No, not out there.
no?
Water's always 10, 15 degrees warmer. It's the Gulf Stream. Comes right up, crystal clear.
Yeah. Because I know, like,
Wow.
I was off Baja, California, like, Cabo, Las Barillas area, and they,
Guadalupe, that area.
yeah, they were all up in, what's that?
Sea of Cortez.
Yeah, Cortez.
Wow.
Super clear, and you can, but yeah, you can just go and actually Griff has swam with them.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep, yeah.
No thanks. I have a rule. Nothing that ends in the word shark.
A 30 swimming as much as I know.
Probably a
whale
pretty
sharks,
good rule.
Whale sharks are technically harmless to humans,
Yeah.
other than like what they could do if they move too quick.
Right.
Which they don't do.
Which they don't do.
Yeah.
Swimming next to a 30,000-pound fish is a little intimidating.
Is your
Yeah.
math correct? 15 tons?
15 tons times 2,000 is 30,000.
Is a ton?
30,000 pounds. Did I say tons?
Isn't a ton like 3,000 pounds?
No,
It's like
2,000.
3,500, right?
2,000. 15 tons.
Google that.
times,
Let's get another Google out here.
No, 200. No, 300,000. 2,000.
Usually
times,
Brett's right on. He's a little stumped tonight.
2,000 times 15.
2,000 on the nose. You got it, Brett.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 30,000 pounds, right?
Yeah.
I was
Look
just
at that.
I was
We're
just-
sorry. We're sorry, Brett.
I don't think it
We're sorry.
tons.
All right. So what else we got here? Tiger shark at 10 to 14 feet can weigh in at 1,400 pounds.
Saw one of those this year.
Did you really?
Half mile off the shore in Newport.
Wow. Now, why are they coming up here so much now? Is it because the water's getting warmer?
It's that, and the amount of like game fish and bait fish is starting to skyrocket again.
Oh, is it really?
Like pogies, Manhattan are coming in super hard. The tuna are coming. We had a tuna bite this year that best I've ever seen.
Really?
All within 30 miles. They were
Wow.
catching 900+ pound tuna.
And,
How
they're-
much-
and they're-
5 miles
those
offshore.
big ones are usually way offshore, right? Like further than that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're coming in chasing the bait fish in.
Now, what does
So-
a tuna like that cost? Like, if you were to sell it, what could you get for something like that?
I never do that.
No?
No.
You always eat it?
Eat it, share it, stuff like that. But
Well, I'm a big sushi fan, so anytime that you feel like you want to be generous.
you should see my freezer. But so a lot of that big bait's getting driven in, and then there's a lot of like fish trap areas out there Some of these fish traps hold 50, 60,000 pounds of fish.
Do
I
they
don't know
really?
if you saw the picture I posted on my Instagram. Happy birthday, Corey Wheeler. She owns a bunch of fish traps, and we'll pull 40,000 pounds of fish a day out of them. So when you
Wow.
pack that many fish into a small space and they're all rustling around,
That's going to attract
it's
predators.
literally ringing a dinner bell,
Yeah.
and they start buzzing around the area and stuff like that.
Wow. So we'll get right to the great white shark here. 23 feet. You're looking at 5,000 pounds.
So you
That's
said
a
you
lot
saw
of
you saw
fish.
14 footer.
It's
So
the biggest one I've ever
you know
seen.
we'll
Yep.
you know proportionately say half or probably a little bit more just based on their body. So it's a 1,500 pound fish.
Now, you can't really eat a shark for the most part, right? There's only certain
You're
parts.
nuts.
Oh, absolutely.
Is it-
Thresher shark and mako shark are two of the most delicious fish in the ocean.
Yeah.
Are they really? I thought
Oh,
it
yeah.
was like just the fins and stuff.
well, no,
Well, that's
so,
if you want. If that's if your doesn't work and you want to go
Yeah.
take some Chinese medicine.
yeah. So shark fin stew is still big in like Asian populations. And it's some of it is like fertility based, or it's just a delicacy that they like to advertise. But shark steaks, you know, in the varieties that he talked about, are actually absolutely delicious. You know,
Really?
if prepared correctly.
Thresher shark, I know. Oh, you're gonna have to edit that. Thresher sharks, I know a couple restaurants that their swordfish steaks are actually thresher sharks certain time of the year.
Yeah.
And
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. And you'll be like, this is the best swordfish I ever had, and it's thresher cuts.
No
Yeah.
kidding. So where around here do you know that you can get great white for?
Oh, they're federally protected.
Yeah. so you can eat them, but you can't really.
No, you can't touch
No,
them.
yeah,
okay.
yeah, no,
Can't
great
touch
way
it.
you can,
Yeah.
but just sharks in general. There are
Okay.
you know a few varieties that are able to be you know
And trust me, if it swims around here, there's somebody that eats it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Let's see what we got here. Bull sharks, even 11-foot bull shark is 290 pounds. That's
Those
those are
in
vicious.
the Northeast, I do not care for. They are super aggressive, and they live up to their name.
Yeah. Really, huh?
Yep. Same guy, Shark Assassin. He does frying pan tower in the Carolinas, and they'll shoot a fish, and it takes two other divers with them to poke the bull sharks off for them to get their fish back.
No kidding.
Sometimes you have to dive, bear hug your fish, and swim with it while you're pushing them off. It's insane.
just because the bull sharks sense it, they're on it,
Yep.
Yeah.
and you have to fight them for it. Basically.
So they must get to a point where they know what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they're like, okay, he's
Absolutely.
in. Let's go.
Daryl Wong is one of the #1 spear gun builders in the world out of Hawaii. And a conversation him and I had where all the sharks there know what the spear fishermen are doing, especially the big tigers. They'll just cruise. 15, 16-foot tigers will just cruise where they're at. Totally calm till they start killing fish. And then they just come and take their fish away.
Yeah.
And they're just waiting, and probably hoping to make sure that they can be more aggressive or scare you more than you can scare them,
Listen,
or they just don't give a shit.
it's going on like that. I ain't even shooting.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, you have yourself a good day.
You won.
If I happen to shoot and there's one in the water, I'll fillet it for him. I'll be like, here you go, buddy.
Here you go.
Have a good day.
Just can I have the next one?
You know, my worst fear would be like if I'm swimming at the bottom, and it's always in those movies where they look up, and they're all circling and like,
Listen.
there's my boat. Like that's where I have to go. So how would I maneuver that if I?
There's three that stick out in my mind. Matt Como was one of them. He was on the bottom, and this shark is over him.
Oh,
And again, you can't see very far, so a lot of times you just see the shape. Turned out to be a 4-foot sturgeon. But
wow.
when you're underneath them and you're looking up, they're just dogfish. Same thing. You'll be in the water and a school of dogfish will come by, and you can't tell how far away they are. You just see these shark shapes, and you're like, but for some reason, you're still you're not running away, but you were trying to figure it out. And then it swims by you, and you go, pussy. And then you'll be on the bottom and, 25, 35 feet of water, and a couple thousand scupples swim over you. And they're so tightly packed that they block out all the light. You're on the bottom. You're not looking up. You're looking for whatever you're hunting.
And you just see
And
shadows
all of a
and
sudden,
darkness.
it goes
Oh,
dark.
man.
And you're like, and then it scoots by and it's light. And you're like, oh, thank you. All right. Getting goosebumps talking
Oh my
about it.
God.
So obviously, you know, we before we started talking, we talked about the fish tank and fishes, or fishes, aquariums, all that stuff. Coolest, most interesting, more goosebump type stuff. What you've seen out in the water.
It's the stupidest. It's jellyfish. Jellyfish are the stupidest, most dangerous thing ever.
And they're so cool though.
I'm like, oh, it's a plastic bag. I'm going to Portuguese man of war, like, oh,
Yeah.
not touching that.
Yeah.
You know? Or you're swimming and all of a sudden you're like,
Now,
what's
isn't
that?
the Portuguese? That's one of the most deadliest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple. There's the box.
Box
there's
is
the-
probably, I think, worse than.
And where do you find those?
So that's another thing about out here is that Gulf Stream comes real close, and it's been getting warmer and warmer every year. The end of July,
You would
you'll see
normally never
hundreds of them.
I don't think off the East Coast 10, 20 years ago, you wouldn't see a Portuguese or a boxfish. They were warmer water jellyfish. Most of the jellyfish we would see in the Northeast they would suck, but not necessarily
You
deadly.
get those nettles and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and then you get the lion's manes. Those are those big, weird orange, red ones
Yeah.
that the
Yeah,
turtles
yeah.
and everything eat.
Yeah, the
Those-
nettles.
I took one in the face this year.
Oh,
Real
did
bad.
you really?
It's on my Instagram.
Oh God.
The nettles, I think the ones you used to see wash up like down in Rhode Island, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd see after a storm, you'd see a couple hundred of them. It would suck, but I don't think you're gonna die like box and Portuguese. Like
You have to be allergic,
Yeah.
like bee sting kind of stuff. For them to. I mean, don't get me wrong, it fucking hurts, it kills.
Like on a scale to
So
1 to
shitty.
10.
It
is that?
depends on where you take it. And the unfortunate part about spearfishing is you have a wetsuit on and you're covered except for right here. So when you get it, it's right here.
And they just get tangled up, right?
It's that, and then a lot of people don't realize is they're super fragile animals.
Yeah.
So like if you like kick your fin by one, you'll break some of its tentacles off. Then the next guy coming by just
it
happens to
floats right down.
stays away from the jellyfish, but those broken tentacles are still like twisted in your kick wash, and they'll stick to your face, and you'll get out of the water and you'll be like, ugh. You have this squiggle red mark on your face for a couple days.
So what's the? Is it true you pee on somebody and it takes the sting away?
If you're an asshole.
you can try to sell that. No, I don't think that works, right? Like if you're into that kind of thing.
So any professional boat keeps vinegar in a squirt bottle on the boat.
That's what it is, vinegar. Yeah.
Yeah.
White vinegar.
Yeah. So, like, this tattoo took a beating in the Keys. I actually put my hand on a piece of fire coral while this tattoo was healing. Fire coral does the same thing, stings you like a jellyfish.
Oh, that's a really.
So I had to stick a healing tattoo that was fucked up by coral in a bucket of vinegar. Yeah. Not fun.
Might as well have been rubbing alcohol.
Mhm.
Yeah. Right. just take a lighter to it while you're at it.
Yep.
Oh, that's hilarious. Not.
Some of the guys that taught me how to do this stuff have some horrendous stories. There are a lot of them are ex-Navy salvage divers and stuff of what they would do to like new guys when they got stung by a jellyfish, and just absolutely like in retrospect in their life, they're like, yeah, we were fucking terrible to them, but it was hilarious. Like, bunch of grown men standing around with their pants down.
Oh.
All right. So coolest diving site. Because I know we just recently talked about some down off the Keys. You were talking about a couple of wrecks, and I know you just went and did some cool, along with some certification courses, right?
Yeah, I did some nighttime stuff and some other salvage stuff, but almost every spot's got its own little things. Like the Northeast, we have some real cool cave stuff. We have a ton of shipwrecks, but it's getting to them and being able to actually see them. You get them on good days, it's amazing. The Keys is just, it's like battleship heaven. There's just so many gigantic ghost ships strewn out down there. But then like San Diego, SoCal, kelp forest. You have no idea what it's like swimming in a forest underwater until you get into that.
So that's my kelp forests are my biggest fear. Like I don't know.
It's like the corn maze. It's like the corn maze. You
At
can't get
one
out of.
point, I like read something about like some dude getting tangled in a kelp forest and he drowned. And I was like, I'm never going to kelp forest ever. That's my biggest fear of ocean swimming is like getting tangled. And it's I know it's completely unrealistic, and I don't have a lot of fears in relation to like water, but like every time I'm in ocean water where I can't see the bottom, I'm gonna get tangled in a kelp forest.
Start carrying a knife in your pocket. There's spots we dive here in the Northeast that have so much shore fishing going on, especially when you get close to places like Fall River, where their whole population is literally on the riverbank fishing for dinner. You'll get down like 35, 45 feet, and it literally looks like cobwebs. And it's all 50 and 100-pound test fishing line. And we're down there trying to shoot fish through this stuff, and it happens. There's days I'll have a knife on my arm, on my leg, and in my belt, because you never know which way you're going to be when you get...
Where you can get to
Yeah.
it. Because there's so much like just tangled fishing line. No kidding.
Yeah.
And so what is that? What do you see? So when you're down there, is there fish all caught up in that shit and everything? Like,
I got another video coming out.
Yeah.
All fish rescues.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these species of fish, even when you're on a boat, they bite, they feel that tug. Their nature is to run into the rocks and hide.
Yeah.
So they'll run into the rocks and hide. They'll tangle your line up. Your line will break. You know, and there's kind of no way around it.
Yeah.
I mean, it even happens to us spearfishing. You'll shoot one with a spear, and they'll bullet into the rocks, and you're taking the next 10 dives trying to figure out how to get this metal rod out of a crack in a rock that big.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. So have you seen over the years the coral reefs going away? Or are they coming back?
So we don't have coral reefs here.
Down in the like the Keys and stuff?
A lot of the stuff you see down there, they only show you what it looked like then and what it looks like now. And it's, you know, I have another amazing instructor friend, Lonnie, big ups dude. He actually flies down to Bonaire and actually plants coral trees.
Oh, does he
and
really?
regrows the reefs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Project3000.org, I believe. Check them out.
And I know they've done a lot of like reef recovery, and obviously there's a lot more regulation around coral harvesting and, you know, even just live fish harvesting.
Yeah, it's not really a thing anymore in the States.
Yeah, it's more captive. Like if you're buying saltwater fish and stuff, it's more captive bred stuff. And coral harvesting, I think if you're buying corals, they're not coming from off the U.S. coast.
Don't get me wrong. I have seen some spots locally where you see two guys with a 2x4 in each hand and a fish net between it, and they're dragging seagrass beds.
Oh my God.
Like, what are you guys doing? Oh, we sell these at the pet store.
Yeah.
And they're taking all seahorses and stuff. I'll put them in a bucket. Just kick their bucket over.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's still happening, but you know, not necessarily up to snuff, I guess. But and a lot of reef replacement stuff. I mean, I know they do a lot of sunken reef type stuff. You know, sinking boats, sinking cars, sinking tires.
The
all
big
that
problem
shit.
with that now is the impact of the petroleum distillates that are on these things.
Yep.
You know, now whenever a
Right.
ship goes down, they try their hardest to get the ship out. They don't want it down there because, like, a tugboat sunk last January, and it was totally fueled up. They pulled that thing right away because it was literally just bouncing around leaking diesel.
I was thinking more like intentional sinks.
Yeah.
So like fully scrubbed. You know, like I remember like a while back, like certain car manufacturers were like donating cars that they didn't sell and stuff like that to sink them, but they were, you know, completely cleansed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, so when you go to like a dive wreck, do you have to do any kind of like research ahead of time to know what you're in for? And
Normally they're guided.
are they really?
Yeah, anyone who does it on their own or alone, you're a special breed of cowboy.
No kidding, huh?
Yep, there's some out here that are 10, 15 feet off the shore, and still there's just so much metal and just
hazards, just
stuff in them.
Yeah.
You know, I have some great videos of going through them, but one of the first times I ever won one, I hit my head, and I, for probably a good 5 seconds, didn't know which end was up.
Oh my God.
And I was like, you get to the surface having a panic attack.
Yeah.
you hit
know,
your head
and
that bad, just,
and
just
that's
swimming.
no bottle. That's breath hold. Like I hit it.
Oh, is it
Oh,
really?
yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I had a nightmare once. I watched one of these shows where they went cave diving, and the guy's line went and it snapped, and he was like the first one. Like he just kept going. He was
like his trail line. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
and then and the cinematography was awesome because you got a real perspective of where he was, and then you saw the thrashing around, not knowing where he is, losing all sense of direction, and I'm like, whoa.
It must get freaky.
Nope. I'm not even like. I'm a large mammal. I always have been, and I get into some pretty tight spots. And again, some of the videos I have coming up, you'll see as the water gets colder, the fish go in deeper into these rock spaces. So you want good fish, you're going in there after them. And there's a couple where you can actually see me like stop, the camera bends backwards, and then I'm like trying to wrench myself out of the space, and you're just like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Or you'll get into them where it'll be like a break wall, and there'll be ocean current on the other side, and you'll get in there and you'll feel the suction pulling you in. You're like, nope, see you later. Bye.
See, these are things I never would have thought about.
Yeah.
You know, and again, this is the reason why I don't go in the water.
When I first started, I had panic attacks on the regular.
Did you really? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Just learning how to breathe through a plastic hose
Yeah.
and then hold your breath while a whole bunch of lead weights pulling you down to the bottom. And then getting caught in storm surge, riptide, suction, stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, after a couple of years, you know you can get through it, and you're like, all right, it's fine.
Yeah.
But you don't forget, ever. I've gone on some fun rides where I thought you would have to pick me up at Block Island.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's a whole other world. Like I've done some snorkeling, you know, on different adventures, and I did some like amateur scuba where it's less regulated and you don't need to be licensed. Hashtag Mexico.
Hashtag where's Tony? Hashtag Mexico.
Hashtag where's Tony? And you know, and I always like one of the when we you know, my family and I do a lot of traveling, so like being scuba certified was like always one of the things I wanted to do, but it's a time consuming process to do it the right way. And so I was able to get into a couple different places where, you know, regulations were a little less tight as they are in the US. And it's like, oh, here, if we give you 10 minutes in a pool, you're good.
They call that resort certification.
Yeah.
You're an expert.
You're good for a couple hours. And it's like a whole nother world. Like you don't know what to expect. Like there's no, I mean, yeah, there are some predictions of what's going to happen, but it's just like the weather. Like shit changes, and I haven't done it nearly to the extent as JoJo has, but like it's completely out of control in almost every aspect. And it's like you said, you just have to either like wait it out or you know, try to anticipate what to expect. But and I know I haven't been anywhere. I'm talking like I've spent like 10 hours in the water in that capacity, and he's probably in the hundreds of hours at this point.
I counted so the pandemic, I was diving between 3 and 5 days a week because I had nothing else going on in my life.
Yeah.
From June to June, I had logged like 724 surface break dives.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's physically whole. I mean, some days I do 80, some days I do 10.
Yeah.
You know? But getting behind the bottle brings a whole new ball game in.
So you're talking free diving. You're talking, yeah.
I thought you were talking about like drinking while you dive.
Well, I mean,
Behind the bottle.
when you learn about oxygen narcosis, they say every atmosphere is like another beer.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There might be some kids in the Keys that I know that narc themselves intentionally. I won't tell them what your name is. Don't worry, Mac. But I actually got a chance to see it like firsthand where somebody actually went out totally underwater at 100 feet.
Really?
Thankfully, the individual didn't spit the regulator out of their mouth, and there were enough guides and rescue guys around that they were able to get them to the surface and get them back. And life was peachy for the guy after that. But to actually see somebody go limp and unconscious at 100 feet, you're like, all right.
Yeah, like that's interesting.
So I know like those initial like, so let's say 5 breaths from a regulator. It's there's a huge adjustment period because like you have to, there's that mind over matter like thing where you have to convince yourself like it's okay to breathe underwater.
Yeah.
You know, kind of just like snorkel, but it's also, you know, it even from snorkel to regulator, it's a different experience. So when that happens, when you, let's just say you're losing consciousness or you lose consciousness, does your body still know how to deal with that regulator?
So, I just read a huge write-up on it. And when you go unconscious underwater, because it's pressurized, it actually forces air into your lungs. It's not, you're not sucking. It's actually,
It's like my CPAP machine.
So as long as you're open to take it, like, so there's, and your body is naturally going to go do that gas.
If you go unconscious underwater, I think you have like 6 or 8 minutes where your muscle memory actually closes your glottis. And then when your face comes out of the water, your muscle memory actually, as long as you can still sustain brain and heart function, your body won't allow you to suck water in unconscious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So basically that says that if you go unconscious underwater, your body will stop you
from technically killing yourself, sucking water to die.
So it wouldn't try to take air from a regulator then.
That's the thing, is the air is, like I said, it's pressurized. It's actually pushing against, so you'll actually still get air through.
Yeah, it's like my CPAP machine.
Oh, excuse me.
So what's the pressure? Like, so my CPAP runs about 13 pounds.
I don't know.
It's water. It's based on water, I think. My CPAP. I forget how they do that, but
like my octopus, my spare air, randomly will just start, and I'm like, and I got to jam it closed again because the pressure is literally on demand right there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's your little like canned like emergency one?
No, it's your second stage regulator. You always carry a second in case one of your buddies runs out of air and you can both breathe. You can buddy breathe and go.
Yeah.
So what kind of time do you get on your normal air tanks?
That, again, varies on how deep you are, how you're breathing, what your heart rate is. You know, average.
So do you have to practice that? Like, say if I can't, if I do this and start to learn how to breathe better, I'm going to get so much more time. So does it benefit me to do that?
It's how you breathe while being anaerobic, because you're always kicking. You know, you're always moving. There's something going on there, and that's on scuba. You know, when you're free diving, it's now teaching your body how to tolerate the CO2 in your system while dealing with the lactic acid you're building up because you're doing anaerobic exercise without putting oxygen into your bloodstream.
So you use less oxygen to do more because you're swimming.
It's a weird
and trying to deal
that's
off
the
the
hardest
breath that
thing
you
to learn
took.
is how to differentiate which is which.
Yeah,
I'm comfortable holding my breath at 50 plus feet on a dive. When you're on a bottle, you cannot hold your breath because you are actually you're changing the volume in your lungs, and if you raise with the increased volume, you'll actually pop your lungs.
Really?
Yeah.
because it expands.
Yeah.
So you have to continue breathing.
But if you
at different
breath
depths.
hold and you take that same volume with you up and down, it's okay.
Wow.
It's learning that stuff. You're just like,
I got to tell you, this is probably the most fun podcast we've ever done.
Yeah, but the tank measurement thing, it's real. So, like, the more you gain comfort with it, you're going to increase the amount of time you can get out of air because your heart rate's probably lower. There's less anxiety.
Right.
You're breathing slower. You can regulate it, but you still do have to breathe regular.
Yes.
Because you have to keep that same pressure within your lungs because that changes at your depth.
Yeah. Every 32 feet, it's another atmosphere. The weight of what you feel on Earth.
And what's your typical depth that you go?
Bottle or free dive.
Bottle.
We'll say bottle.
Bottle.
Because you can probably go further with a bottle, right?
Bottle, my max, I think, is 115 right now.
Wow. That's really deep.
What about free dive? What's your
my max free dive? 62.
For what time? What's your?
That's up and down. That's literally
just
like
down. I did 62, 63. I'm out.
It was a hilarious story.
Because that's. I mean, so think about
cool.
you swim to 12 feet.
Yeah, and I'm already out of breath.
And you're like, I need to get up. I'm gonna drown.
Yeah.
And he's talking like
I was offshore probably 175 miles with a guy out of Montauk, Scott Troyce. And I'm doing an open water drift. There's nothing out there. There's no shoreline. There's no nothing. That's just water in a boat.
Yep.
And it's 2,500 feet deep. You can't see the bottom. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm swimming back to the boat, and I'm like, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, that's a straw. Forgetting how crystal clear the water is, I dive for the straw. It's also on my Instagram. I hit the straw at like almost 40 feet.
What's a straw?
Straw.
Just a regular straw.
A drinking straw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because the whole sea turtle, no straw thing.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Thousands of surface breaks. I've never seen a straw in the ocean. I saw one and I'm like, I'm getting that fucking thing.
Save the
on
turtles.
film.
Hashtag.
So
Where's Tony?
Hashtag where am I? So I dive and I grab this straw. But my weight belt's weighted for shallower water, heavier weight. So I stop about 40 feet and I have cameras going and I'm playing with the straw in front of my camera and my watch beeps. I broke 55 feet. I look at my watch again. I broke 60 feet like that because now I'm just sinking like a rock. But there's no structure. There's no bottom. Nothing tells you where you are.
There's no reference.
That's why this thing doesn't come off my wrist.
Oh, so that's crazy. That's like a plane where, like, they said John F. Kennedy Jr., when he must have inverted himself, he couldn't tell whether he was up or down. He wasn't probably good at looking at his instruments. So he got disorientated. Up was up and down, whatever it goes.
It's just you start moving downward fast.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm holding my breath. And I skyrocket back to the surface. And I break the surface of the water. I get back on the boat. And Captain's like, down pretty deep, pretty far? I'm like, yeah, why? He goes, because normally you come out of the water about this far. He goes, you came out of the water about this far.
Because you were like,
the last 10 feet, my diaphragm was twitching. And I was like, I'm going to drown in the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, my God. So how do you go up so fast? Did you have something that you engaged to make you go up? Or?
Yeah, it's my hamstrings.
Oh, really? So you were powering it up.
It was the, oh, shit, I'm going to drown hamstring.
So what about the weights that you had? So you're trying to counteract these weights at the same time by going up?
In emergency situations, they're rubber belts. If you tug on them, they'll fall away.
Yeah.
But we also, most skilled freedivers use like 30 to 36 inch carbon fiber fins.
Yep.
I can swim so fast my mask will fall off my face.
Oh, wow.
Because, I mean, you got that much carbon fiber propulsion behind you.
Yeah.
That was the oh shit, I'm going to drown propulsion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these free divers that we see, you know, they're in a little hole
Oh,
above the
no.
ice, and then they do the quick breaths, and they next thing you know, they go down to the abyss. How far are they going down?
That's subjective on the person.
Is it really?
If you Google's in your fancy little surface there, I think it's like 330 meters, I think. So world record, maybe it's 330 feet, something it's insane.
330
breath.
meters is 1,000 feet.
It's something insane. It's literally something insane.
So
The
how long
best-
can you hold your breath? Like
It depends. Like
well, let's just say you go in a pool.
in a
Because
pool,
I know it changes like
in a
based
pool
on
it
depth.
sucks because the chlorine burns your nose.
Yeah.
You know,
All right.
but
So in a freshwater lake, you just sit in the water and you hold your breath.
a minute and a half, 2 minutes. You know, everybody can do about a minute.
Yeah. So that's average free
The
dive.
mammalian dive reflex.
Yeah.
We were born in the water. The second your whole face gets wet, your spleen actually produces more oxygen in your blood, and you can hold your breath longer.
Right. The whole breathing in amniotic fluid. The what's the well, it's the abyss.
Mammalian dive reflex.
But the abyss, I think, talked about it, right?
Oh yeah, they had those cool pink fluid helmets.
Right,
Well,
right,
so I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
So I watched a special the other night on like what things in movies were real, that were futuristic and real, and that was one of them. So that liquid is a real thing.
Amniotic fluid. That's what we breathe. But I don't know if you can readapt to it.
So you can. So
If you're Kevin Costner in Waterworld,
Well, they were drinking piss. I don't
Yeah,
know if
yeah.
I want to.
gills.
that was a different kind of liquid, but that pink liquid that he breathed, that's a real thing, and they've been working on that because they think that's going to be the difference with space flight. That might be the key to having people get there further than we normally can, like under suspended animation. Like that's what. Remember on Prometheus when he came, they took that guy out and he threw up all that stuff. That's basically the same
Matrix.
premise. Like,
They're
yeah,
in their water bubbles.
yep.
Yeah. So amniotic fluid, and that
Is
is
it amniotic though? Is it?
yeah.
I mean, that's how we start breathing water.
That's how we start breathing. But that's also
Like, are you breathing through the amniotic? I mean, your umbilical cord.
no. The umbilical cord is where you get your nutrition. So you're tied into the bloodstream and the digestive stream
That's
of
your pee poo.
Yeah, that's exactly. So that's where you eat and where you poo poo. The amniotic fluid is what fills the amniotic sac. So that's I only think amniotic.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So you're floating in that, So a lot of times they'll test that. They'll do an amniocentesis, which it does an extract of amniotic fluid, which can test, for certain defects and things like that. So that's what you're. I wouldn't call it breathing, but you're absorbing.
The secret of the ooze.
Yeah, it's the secret
Yeah.
of the ooze. It's like Ghostbusters too.
That was clearly a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reference, not
wait.
Ghostbusters.
Sorry, what's the Ghostbusters 2 one? That's the shit that they put in the. Where's the first one? Now I'm all fucked up. All right, never mind.
It's hard. We're getting old now. It's hard to put all this stuff
Put it
together.
all
Yeah.
together. But you're right. Secret of the Ooze. That was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reference. My bad.
I mean, in your defense, that bottle of wine is empty.
It is.
Yeah, I'm looking for.
And
another
I
one.
will tell you this: it's in record time.
You moved the
No, it's
rack.
still in there. It's
All
just
right.
at the bottom.
All right.
Do you want to fill up real quick?
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break.
All right.
All right, and we're back.
This is way better than the one I was drinking. I just want you to know. I grabbed that last one out of the wine rack at home.
This one's much. Is that the one I had under the
Yep.
thing there? Yeah.
Yes, and thank you. I'm
Is that
excited.
what happens when you get that old? You get skinny and start talking about fucking wine.
I've always liked wine. I just never
The
drank
label
it.
actually says sucking. It says James sucking on the label.
It's suckling. Okay.
Okay.
That's different.
Like suckle the teats.
You're suckling something. Hashtag where's Tony?
Hashtag where's Tony? Suckling. Yeah, so what were we talking about? Diving?
Yeah. So I have a question. Riptides.
What about him?
So you get stuck in one, especially what you're doing. How do you get out of that? What's the protocol?
The same way you get out of it if you're hanging out on the beach. Keep your head cool and swim diagonally across it. It's simple. But try doing it when it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, what did he say? I forgot what he said. Shit.
Yeah, it's just like stay calm during, like when you're skidding in your car, or steer into the skid when you're water hydroplaning or skidding. Like, yeah, it all sounds great in theory,
But you're trying to get away from the guardrail.
yeah, you're trying to get away from guardrail or the car, or you're trying not to drown. So it's all about that mental fortitude, I guess.
I had one real stupid. I had a wicked head cold and chest cold, could barely breathe, and everyone wanted to go spearfishing. I was like, yeah, we're going. The tide starts going out, current's moving, and I cannot breathe enough to actually physically exert myself. I can feel my heart beating in my ears. My heart's about to jump out of my chest, and then I snap a fin blade.
Ooh.
And I start literally panicking, and I'm just going for a ride. One of my dive partners is like, hey, man, you all right? I'm like, yeah, yeah.
So you guys are on radio?
No, we're looking at each other.
Oh, okay.
And then a couple wave sets come by. He goes, you sure? And he's now 30 yards away
I
from
was
me.
just going to say, he's starting to.
And I'm like, I don't think so. And thankfully, he's another one of those smarter guys where he dives with a 150-foot line with an inflatable little boat on the back. And while I'm getting sucked out, I feel something on my leg. And I look down, and it's his rope. And I grab his rope, and I start pulling myself hand over hand. And then I remember Bobby's 175 pounds, and I'm 300 pounds, and I'm pulling Bobby into the current. So I let the rope slide through my hands till I get to his boat. And then I hop on his boat, and he actually swam into the rocks. And the way the current went, it actually whipped me around back into the rocks. I had to climb out of some really nasty surfing rocks, but it was better than going for a swim I couldn't fix.
Now, how far did that take you away from where you needed to be?
It was so fast. I probably got 200 feet away, but it was a matter of a minute.
Wow.
It happened real fast. Then we had another one right at Narragansett Town Beach. And people don't realize what it is. The seafloor right off the shore is actually scalloped really hard. That's why all the surfers and everyone love it there. It creates real good swell. It also creates a nasty rip current. I had actually swam through it and was past the tidal zone, and I heard my dive partner actually yelling, help me. And he was the guy who taught me how to do this. He's like the pyramid of physical fitness, and he's in the gym, and hearing him yell help, and then there's two surfers in between us, and they just sat there on their surfboards just watching.
Oh, is that the big guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I literally just start beelining for him with a float. And by the time I had gotten to him, we had actually just kind of both cruised diagonally through it and ended up on the shore anyway. And it was only like 8 or 9 feet of water.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter where it is. When it happens, it happens.
I personally never felt a riptide before. I personally don't even go in that far. Ankle deep, and that's pretty much where I stay.
Again, this was probably 10 yards off the shore.
Wow.
Yeah, you can get ripped you're knee deep or
And what does it do? Knock you off your feet? Is that what it does?
Depends on where you're at, but you can get sucked. I've been in hurricane waters. I've never done diving in it because I'm not a diver.
I have a great story about that too.
But body surfing, and when I was younger, I remember going out. We'd be up in Maine, and there'd be hurricane type waters, because of storms, coming up the coast, and that's your best waves. Your body boarding or surfing. That's used to be what I do as a kid. And I remember being out there and just feeling that pull, and you see it very prevalent in the beaches of Rhode Island.
Oh yeah.
Where it's if you're knee deep or more during certain times, you feel your feet being pulled out from under you. It's crazy.
Really, yeah.
And I'm not even underwater or 8-9 feet like he's talking.
Sometimes it's a little easier because you can feel which way you're getting pulled, and you can actually swim diagonally.
Just ride it. Yeah.
I highly invite you guys, any big storm surge that comes through, to go to the Georges of Galilee parking lot and watch the maniacal kite boarders and bodyboarders and stuff like that hit these 20-foot swells with 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh.
I have, again, on my Instagram, there's some amazing video of it. You just hear the wind whipping, but I'm like, they're launching over the break walls 30, 40 feet.
Oh, my God.
It's absolutely insane to see. I have a friend who's a rescue swimmer for the Coast Guard up here. He's originally from Texas. and now he's out on Grinderland on the Cape. Provincetown.
Yep.
Provincetown.
And
Grinderland.
we had 3 big hurricane systems roll through back to back to back this year. And the third one was calling for like 20-foot swells. And he's like, hey, me and a couple of my guys are coming down. You want to come boogie boarding with us? And I went, abso-fucking-lutely not. But I will come film it from the shore. And I absolutely, these guys are out of their
The
minds.
safety of the shore.
Out of their minds.
Yeah.
And little booty shorts and boogie boards. Actually, the kid has my face printed on his cheetah print booty shorts. I'll show you guys a photo. And he goes out. And I'm just like, this is what these kids want to do for a living. God bless them.
Yeah. We took a cruise once out of Boston to Bermuda right during hurricane. we were told we were going to miss it. Yeah, right. That was the most horrendous experience I ever had. That was actually our first cruise we ever took. And we were confined to our cabins half the time. They canceled like the captain's dinner. They shut down the casinos. It was brutal. Matter of fact, we couldn't even use our cell phones because they had to shut the comms down. And I remember we were at the bottom. We might have been at the bottom, but when we got to go to the top, I couldn't believe how far that ship was coming down and how far those waves were coming up. I'm like, oh, this is how I'm going to die.
Dude, the ocean is a mean thing.
I had
It's
a fishing charter at the end of the season this year, and I almost canceled on the guys because they were calling for 10 to 12 footers. And then I look at the time, and they're at like 15 seconds. So a 10-footer at 15 seconds is very calm and just kind of moves. So these guys are like, yeah, let's go fishing. And I take them to the south side of Block Island, and the windmills aren't very far away. And you can actually see the windmill disappear and reappear.
That is insane.
And disappear. And I'm just looking, and like finally one of the kids notices it because he sees me staring at it, and he goes, these waves really that big? I'm like, yes. These waves are really that big. And he's like, I go, you guys really want to go fishing? I go, I warned you guys. You know, when you get 10 footers at 3 seconds, I'm not even leaving my bed.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
That's a nonstop chop. Like it's a roller coaster.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even getting in the water like that. Like we had a tournament one year where we had like 7 footers at 3 seconds. And you want to talk about, these guys are swimming in the water and still, because you're just getting picked up, drop down, picked up, drop down.
Yeah.
Every time you go to catch a breath, a wave breaks over your head, water floods in your store. It's just not.
Yeah.
You think it's a good idea, but it definitely isn't.
Nothing scarier than the ocean. Like hurricanes don't scare me at all. And I don't have hardly any exposure in the ocean. I just understand the power. It is a scary, like,
listen, man,
completely uncontrollable thing.
Yeah.
Everything gets reclaimed by the sea. Concrete, steel, everything
Yeah, the sea don't give
gets
a shit.
reclaimed
Yeah.
by the sea.
Nature don't care. The
Nope.
sea does not give an F. Like,
You know, it was interesting. My wife got sick, and we didn't realize that your health insurance isn't covered on the boat, so you have to pay cash. So it cost us like $500 for her to go down and get a shot, and a shot and something else. So
like on the boat, like
Yeah.
it was like a Dramamine type shot, or she just like
one was for nausea, and the other one was like probably some Dramamine, but right in the butt to stop. And I thought I was going to be the one because I have
suppository.
no, not that way, just
not up in the butt, just
in the butt.
Hashtag where's Tony?
in the cheek. Hashtag where's Tony?
He just text messaged me, by the way.
Oh, did he really? What does he have to say?
He said, I'm putting the kids to bed.
That son of a bitch.
Kids were supposed to be here. He said he was going to
That's
bring
right.
the kids.
Maybe he was afraid to put me in the room with kids.
He didn't know you. Nope. Wait, I'm trying to think. No. Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to think. He said he was going to bring the kids, and I might have dropped the JoJo ball in the,
Oh, that was his out card. He goes, oh, JoJo's definitely coming. I'm not showing up.
Yeah.
So I leave her in the cabin because I'm there with my sister, her husband, their neighbors. And so I go out to the pool, and one of the guys that works there says, hey, when the waves get too much, just go in the pool. Like, why would I go in there? Because you see the waves going crazy. He goes, it offsets what's going on outside. So I did, and that was the best thing we ever did.
I tell people that all the time.
Yeah, now you're part of it.
If you're on the boat and, like, we got a spear fishing charter and you're starting to get queasy, I hop off the boat. Like, what do you mean? I go, get in the water. It'll immediately go away. If you're past the point, nothing's stopping it. You're
Right.
miserable for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. People never listen. I tell everyone, we leave the dock at 4:30 in the morning. The night before, when you're eating dinner, take your Dramamine, take your Bonine, Put the little patch on your ear before you go to bed. And then come down. These guys are all walking down the dock.
Putting everything in.
Yeah, all those things need to be proactive,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
reactive.
You pass the brake wall, and I'm going.
Yep.
Those three.
Picking them right out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's right. Any place you go, like they say, if you think you're going to have a problem, you have to do it well ahead of.
Oh, yeah.
It's more that those treatments are way more proactive than reactive. Because by the time your body deals with whatever you're trying to do, you're probably you're done with your lunch in two different ways.
Yeah.
I've been in water on boats that you shouldn't have been in water like that out on. Like 20 footers, 25 footers, 30 footer, in 10s and 11s. And are they manageable? Sure. Are they fun? Absolutely not. No. And there's still times to this day where, like, again, same guy out of Montauk, Scott Troy's. Last time we had a full boat, the only place I could lay down was in the walkway inside the bow on the floor. I was there for about 11 minutes. I almost filled my own boot.
Really?
Yeah. It's just when they're coming that hard, that fast, and you're listing and everything, there's nothing that's going to stop it.
So, like, a lot of respect probably goes out to these guys that work out these ships, especially these like shrimp boats or whatever it is that they're fishing for. But,
I mean, if you ever watched, what is it?
The Perfect Storm.
Well, yeah, there's that, which is, based on a true story. But, the crabbing ones, what's that? Dangerous Game or
Deadliest Catch.
Deadliest Catch. Yeah. Like, it happens everywhere. They just happen to make a special about the people that work off the coast of Alaska doing crab fishing. But I mean, Perfect Storm is based out of Gloucester. Gloucester is a huge fishing port, as is most of the East Coast, including all of Massachusetts and all the way up through Maine.
Yep.
I mean, there's people doing what you see on Deadliest Catch, except just for a part of the year the waters are a little warmer.
One of my friends
Still
is doing
just
it
as dangerous.
right now.
Exactly.
They go out 11 to 13 days offshore lobstering. They're out 250 to 350 miles on the Canadian border in the Gulf of Maine.
Wow.
Pulling 110-pound empty pots.
Yep.
And nasty stuff. He's told me this week it's been blowing 30 every day. 30 knots plus seas. And I'm like, oh.
Better than me.
It is it is nasty.
Those guys earn their money, man. I'll tell you.
I remember. So I was a boat owner for a brief period of time, and I stayed on the river. I stayed on the Connecticut River, and yeah. Well, and at one point, so when I originally had an 18-foot boat, and an 18-foot boat, as far as I'm concerned, is not suited for anything more than few.
Otis Reservoir.
Yeah, not suited for saltwater. For ocean.
I had a 17.5-foot center console with my first boat. I learned that real fast.
Exactly. So I upgraded, and I ended up in a 26-foot. And so I was at the point now where I felt that I could, take some charting classes, and when you go into certain areas.
I'm the captain now, Paula.
Yeah. Not Captain Stabbin', but. But I felt like, okay, now I have a boat that I would feel comfortable actually taking out onto the ocean and dealing with some little bit rougher waters. And then, so it was like, I think it was my first year of owning a boat that might have been suited. I chartered a private boat, me and my two brothers off of Agunquit. So we went out, and it was just me and my two brothers, or my two brothers and I, and we went out, and we were just like, we just want to go deep sea fishing. We didn't want to deal with that, 80 people charter lines tangled every single time.
Head boats are the worst.
Exactly. So I went out, and then our dude was like 90 years old, been sailing those waters for the last 50 years, and we're fishing, and I saw this like 20-foot break, and we're like 2 hours offshore, but because there was a ledge, right, I'm seeing these giant whitecaps like crashing, and he's like, "Oh, well, this is where the fish are." I'm like, and I get it, because they're in shallower depths, right? In the warmer waters, and that's where they're feeding and everything like that. So I knew it was the right place to fish. But in my head, I'm like, I would never take my boat out here, because these things, these ledges, all this shit exists this far offshore. And if you don't know how to read this perfectly, you're either caught in one of these whitecaps, or you're grounding on a ledge like 3 hours offshore. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I could take a class, but I'm never going to trust myself enough to be cognizant about what's going on.
It's all about your instrumentation and your knowledge. That's it.
And I get that, and
Yeah.
it's like same reason. Like I want to learn, I want to take pilot lessons. Like it's one of my bucket list things. But I'm like, there's still like this. There's a mental block, and I'll get there eventually. That was one thing before selling my boat that I never got past. Where I was like, I'm not going to take this boat out on the ocean because I knew what to expect on the river. But there's so many unknowns, and it is such a powerful, creature, if you will. Like that is some scary shit. Like I envy you for. I mean, you're you're licensed like up to
100 tons.
Yeah, 100 tons.
Oh my God.
That's a big
Isn't
boat.
that a cruise liner?
100 gross tons.
Yeah.
So like, how does a cruise liner captain? What's their license?
It all depends on the tonnage of the boat.
Does it really?
Yeah, once you break into the 100-ton range, that's where you get into unlimited or what a vessel's rated for, passengers for pay and stuff like that. Then you get into your 200-ton, and then like I have a couple friends, the guy who I trained under, Mike Littlefield in Narragansett Bay Maritime. He's a unlimited tonnage masters of ocean. There's nothing in the ocean he cannot.
He can drive anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
His mainstay, he just retired, was 49 set diesel and kerosene barges with a 150,000 horse tugboat up the Mississippi River.
Wow.
His balls are this big.
His balls are bigger than the boats he drives.
That's 7 barges by 7 barges, 49 square, 150,000 barrels per barge.
Up the Mississippi River.
Up the Mississippi River.
Wow. I've seen documentaries on that. He's like all the way at the other end,
Oh, yeah.
steering this boat that he can't even see past it. That's how.
It's like a train, but there is no rails, basically.
When you train under this guy, he'll show you photos of him sitting on the bridges of these ships over the cloud bank, looking down on the navigation lights of what we think are big ships that we see. And they're literally like motorboats underneath him.
God.
Yeah.
And he has to push this through. He tells a awesome story of he had a fire on one.
Wow.
And it was up here in the Northeast. And it's a mile safety. So every boat around literally just abandoned him and went out a mile away.
Oh, really?
Except for these crazy whack job scalpers from New Bedford. They pulled right up to the side of his boat, smoking cigarettes, and were like, "What do you need?" And he was like, "Fire extinguishers." They couldn't put it out with fire extinguishers. They ended up having to like choke out the smokestack of this tugboat and extinguish the fire. But like he went, found these guys, took them all out, bought them dinner, commended them and everything for it. He's actually recognized by the Coast Guard as one of the master instructors out here.
Wow.
And he was like, "I don't care what they did. They didn't run away."
Yeah. Yeah.
They just kind of charged him, was like, "What the fuck do you need?"
Yeah.
Salty New Bedford guys.
So these guys are like, what could go wrong?
Yep.
That's absolutely crazy because it's an amazing. The ocean is an amazing animal, and
You get like free diving and spearfishing all of the Northeast. You actually we target those kinds of places. Spots that are like 25 to 35 with like 100-foot drop off of them. We actually go and like make it a point to get in there. So you learn it real fast, real easy. Like around the tip of Newport and Jamestown is absolutely treacherous. There is like glacial rock ledge out almost a mile. And what happens is these fishermen come in, Fall River, New Bedford, stuff like that, with these small John boats and single engine center consoles. And they have no idea what the cans are. And they'll come ripping through 3,000 RPM inside the red cans and blow their lower unit and propeller right off.
because of the ledges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll be calling, help, and the salvage stuff I do, we're like immediate response because most of the time they're adrift and we have to grab them before they cause harm.
Yep.
But a lot.
That's got to be a scary thing too. Like all of a sudden, shit, I'm dead in the water, and then it's just going to take me where it takes me.
So how I got the job is the regional guy actually saved my ass one time. I had lost a coil pack. I lost 3 cylinders on an outboard. So I only had 3 cylinders and I could only get like 1.5 knots out of this motor.
So you're crawling.
In 7 footers, and they're coming over the transom.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, thank
How
God.
big of a boat?
17 and a half foot.
So tiny little boat.
But it was a self-bailing scupper boat. So thankfully, as they came over the bilge pump and the scuppers, it was in and out, in and out, in and out. But I was 17 miles away from my slip. And I'm like...
You're 17 miles out.
And I'm doing a knot and
Not
a half
17 miles out. You're 17 miles...
down the shore.
Okay. So you weren't out.
I could see the shore.
Yeah.
But I'm like, to get back safely, and it's all Newport and all that's all cliff ledge.
Yeah.
There's nowhere I can run it on a beach. There's no anything like that. And there's fish traps and gill nets and lobster pots and all sorts of research buoys and everything out there. And you're like, Well, my math was like, this is going to take me about 16 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like 4 in the afternoon. I'm like, this isn't happening. So I call out the Hail Mary. And the guy comes and saves my ass, tows me all the way back. And then I end up working for the guy.
Oh, wow.
Is that the guy you work with now?
Oh, yeah. He actually, he just quit.
Oh.
We'll see you soon, Alex. in Florida.
It's so hard to find good help nowadays.
Alex, he's another one of those guys way too overqualified to be doing a job like that in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Monster motor yacht captain out of Florida. Did the treacherous corner for years. And there's a place in Key Largo. It's a 90-degree corner on an intercoastal. And you can Google it. There's hundreds of accidents there a month.
Are there really?
Yeah. Yep. And the guy lived there and operated there forever.
Wait, is that weird? There's a weird channel down in Florida. I know it's on
it's on the Caribbean side of the Keys.
It's on YouTube and stuff, and people just there's a channel and people just completely. They're always trying to jet out into it, and there's a national.
The sandbar. You're thinking about Marco Island.
Maybe that's
on the qualified captain every day.
There's maybe it's there's a nasty cross current. And these boats come out of this channel and they just get wrecked every single time.
Or they go too wide and they beach on the sandbars.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, that's why I never took my boat on the ocean. There's all these things. And this is I had my boat, I think, before all this internet stuff was prevalent. I just had spent enough time on other people's boats where I'm like, I don't ever want to do this. I'll never feel comfortable enough to do this.
As long as you're trained by the right kind of people who are super safety oriented and they hammer the stuff into your head. Again, Mike Littlefield, he gave us these books and he powered through the books with us and then pretty much was like, don't open them again. But every day quizzed us and hammered on those books, but we couldn't look at the books. We just had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And by the time real world implication and use and testing came, it was, the guy he knows how to get it into your head. And you'll see it with guys on the water. You can tell which guys this guy's trained because they're really safety-oriented people.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be. It's like flying a plane. You know what I mean? You got to know the checklist.
The way I view it is so you can train all day to drive on a hurricane, right? So, I mean, but how often have we seen hurricanes, in the Northeast? Once every 10 years we see anything of any substance, aside from being directly on the coast, right?
Yep.
But you can experience hurricane-type conditions pretty much any day.
Yeah.
Just 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
that nor'easter brought 60 to 90 mile an hour sustained, not gusts, sustained winds to Narragansett, the Vineyard, and the shore, Rhode Island.
Another video on his Instagram.
I can't wait to look at this. This is what I'm doing when I go to sleep tonight.
Tons of capsized boats.
They were stories because of my NDA with said company.
Okay.
I cannot post any of that stuff. But I'll show you some stuff on my phone.
There were videos just riding along the coast. Oh, there's another capsized boat. There's another capsized boat. And this was just a nor'easter that a lot of people didn't take seriously.
We had 3 hurricane systems roll through in a row.
Yeah.
And people paid a lot of money to pull their boats, dry dock their boats, moor their boats with no repercussion. No.
What does that cost somebody to do that?
It's all variable by footage.
Is it? Yeah.
If you have a 55-foot boat, you're probably looking $275 a foot for some of that stuff.
Wow.
So when the third one rolled by, and now they're like, oh, we have a nor'easter coming. Everyone's like, it's a fucking nor'easter. We get those on. It's fine. Destruction from Gloucester North all the way down through Jersey. Just boats shattered everywhere.
Yeah, that rainstorm, 2 weeks ago, the rainstorm that we saw, devastating to the East Coast.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I went out and
it was literally 20 mile an hour winds and rain here. And on the shore, like I said, it was sustained 60s and 90s.
Wow.
I went out to Marshfield, I think it was last week, or it was right before I talked to you. We were driving, went out for family pictures and stuff we had some pictures taken on the beach. And I'm like, what are all these like down trees? Like there was trees everywhere.
That believe
That
it or
was
not,
that
that's
was in the
my
Oyster.
biggest fear being on a boat is we have the Thames, the Mystic, the Connecticut River. We have all these major rivers that come down.
Flushing trees out.
And like the dam in Holyoke, every time there's a massive rainstorm up north, these giant trees blow over it and they end up out in Long Island Sound.
No, all the way out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Wow.
the way the water works. So
If they make it over the dams and they
Yeah,
don't
they're-
get caught somewhere, they're out.
Yeah.
They're in the ocean. That's how rivers
Wow.
do it.
Which
Yeah.
is a fisherman's dream because big migratory species like mahi-mahi love sitting in floating garbage. So when those come around, it's awesome if you can find them.
Because
But
it's a haven for bait fish.
at night,
Yeah.
they sit just below the surface of the water. Your radar's not picking them up. And if you're clipping at night and you hit one of these, you're going for a sink. You know, and we had one this year where every night there was probably like 4 or 5 guys hailing them out that they were out there.
Really?
Anywhere from
Wow.
like 6 feet to like full grown oak trees just cruising
Just
by.
mosey on down
Yeah.
the river.
Yeah, because so one good tree fell, Connecticut River, let's say, it's gonna get caught in the dam. They'll probably address it. They'll catch it, or it'll get snagged somewhere. But like when you get that like snowball effect, some get pushed over, and they just eventually like make it there. So like the worse the storm is, the worse the flush is, and just
What's really bad is if
Yeah.
we have a really terrible winter. If we have like a bad winter all up and down the Northeast, and then that melts, that spring, it literally just clears the whole shoreline of all 80-something miles of the Connecticut River coast.
Yeah. It's
And
like the
blows them all-
Drano.
yeah, just
Wow.
blows them all out. Thankfully, by the time fishing starts and it's warm enough, those are all already gone and out of here.
Yeah.
But if you have a good like mid-season monsoon rainstorm and it raises the river levels and stuff up like that and breaks them all loose, they all end up down there.
Oh shit.
Yeah. That's the only thing, that floating garbage thing. Like one time we hit a 4x8 piece of like starboard. It's like plastic plywood. That lets you know you're alive. But like hitting a full-blown tree, that's a game ender for a normal boat.
Wow. Never would have thought you have to deal with something like that just going in the river.
Yeah, like
But yeah,
a
that makes
tree,
sense.
a tree from upstate Vermont, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, it's game over for you. Off the coast of Connecticut,
Yeah.
towards Block Island. That's how the water works.
Vermont getting its revenge. It's
Oh
like
my
France
God.
winning a war.
That's Bernie Sanders.
Shh, no politics.
You broke the
It's
rule.
not politics. I'm just saying, it's Bernie.
All right, boys. It is time. We'll get Chris out of here.
Yep, that's me, Chris.
Joe Stan, Chris is gone.
Huh?
Hashtag where's Tony?
That's right. Where's Tony?
Yeah, hashtag where's Tony?
All right, Joe. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
No problem.
We appreciate
You
it.
can't handle the ploof.
That was probably one of the most interesting podcasts I've done. I could talk about this all night. I mean, literally, that's pretty interesting stuff. So you were right.
No, you're just cracking the surface.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
So
We can do a part 3, 4, and 5.
we
Yeah,
will.
and there could be an X-rated one,
Yeah,
and
we
an
will.
R-rated, and an
There
NC-17.
definitely has to be a rating on some of them.
Yeah.
So from now on,
Can
I
you
think
geofence these so like people in certain prisons and stuff like that can't see them? Because if you can do that, we can talk about some really cool stuff.
we can see what technology will do for us. I just got to watch a YouTube video on it. We're good. All right. So I'm going to do something a little bit different from now on. I'm going to put our sponsors at the end in a block.
Yep.
So we can start adding people in, stuff like that. So we'll do that with this one, see how it looks, and
Yep.
go from there.
All right.
But you can definitely plug your kid, though.
As always.
As always. Yep.
Plug my son Nate, Blue Bee Apparel, bluebeeapparel.com, TikTok at Blue Bee Apparel, and I think on all the other social media platforms. Always dropping limited release. Apparel drops. 10% of all profits go to the Honeybee Conservancy, benefiting the honeybee population and trying to save the honeybees. Because we can't live without them.
That's right.
And he does fantastic things. So,
Good kid.
yeah, couldn't be more proud of him and all my other kids, even though.
But he's our favorite.
I watched the thoughts sink on that one.
Yeah, he's just the only one with an apparel brand right
Yeah,
now.
that's
So
okay.
what was I going to say? The other two are, high honors kids. So
That's
let's support them in their high honors endeavors, I guess, until they get out of school or do their own thing. But yeah, Other than that, we'll look to the the sponsor block.
Hey, Joe, what do you got for us, buddy? You want to plug your Instagram again?
At the Great White Mud Shark.
And
Like it, love it, share it.
We're gonna plug. You want to plug your current bar in case you're in the woo.
At Whiskey on Water. Come check it out. Shit gets wild.
Fantastic bar. I've been there. Great drinks, great whiskey selection, as the name would tell you. And if you go there on a Friday or Saturday night or probably a Thursday night, shit gets crazy upstairs.
Thursday's college.
Yeah.
Fridays split DJs. Saturdays live bands.
and where can people find this place?
97 Water Street, Worcester, Massachusetts.
Worcester.
Welcome to Worcester,
Yep.
$1.25.
I'm out there every week.
That's right. Yeah, you're all
I
over the
work
place.
out there.
Yep.
So, all right, Joe.
I'm sorry.
So am I. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. It meant a lot to us that you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Interesting dude. We can't wait to have you again. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys. As always, peace.
Peace.